did you see that the Bank of America is offering all these zero down mortgages in predominantly Black and Hispanic communities?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you purchase in these communities, and I think they have to be at least 50% Black or Hispanic, this is their language that they're using, you can get in with longer amortization, lower rates, supposedly, or no, not lower rates, but like lower credit requirements, no down payment, et cetera, et cetera. And it, on the one hand, is being promoted as like, isn't this a great opportunity for people who are underrepresented when it comes to home ownership? But there's a sinister element of it too that kind of like immediately made me think, and I kind of unpacked a little bit. But just what's your gut reaction? I don't know if you saw this or thought about it at all.
I saw it, and I forget what the thing was, but it was just like, what was the issue with it again? It was like they're basically sticking people that are not like.
Well, so
it sounds good off the hop, but in general, for me, like before I even get into like the political, like or the controversial side of it, on a simple basis, like I'm just thinking in my head, like the idea of home ownership needs to change as this idea that like that's the key to just getting away from having an issue. Like home ownership is extremely expensive. It's not always a giant asset. And if they're putting into something that's variable for people that aren't necessarily able to keep up with the variable changes, like they are just going to screw all these people over because they're all going to get tied onto a loan that makes sense now. And then it's eventually not going to make sense.
Oh, 100%. So here are the things that are sinister about it. One, the reason that the Bank of America is doing this is because it was actually discovered that their lending was so disproportionately skewed away from these visible minorities that they were close to, I don't want to say like violating any laws, but it was getting so egregiously offensive that they were worried about repercussions because they effectively weren't giving loans out to Black and Hispanic people. So this was a quick way for them to do that in a hurry while looking good, even though it kind of is just a cover up for bad history.
Did we talk about the one here where the appraiser came in and it was a Black couple and they appraised the house at, let's say, $500K, and then they're like, that's odd. So they had another appraiser come, but they had one of their white couple friends stand in for them.
And they took all
the family photos down and
everything. All family photos down, anything that could be considered to relate back to Black culture. And the appraisal went up like an absurd amount.
Yeah, like it was crazy.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars more simply off of that, which was unbelievable.
Yeah, and you see these stories all the time. And Bank of America was having that be exposed through their lending practices, so they came up with this program, which again sounds amazing at first glance. The concern, though, is as soon as this happens, like there's some fine language in there where it's like you have to invest in these communities. It's mortgages in these communities. It doesn't necessarily state that you specifically have to be Black or Hispanic. It says that you have to buy in these neighborhoods. Yeah. So there's some concern around manipulation of that little loophole. The other thing is, it's like, really, Bank of America, you choose now to do this when properties are dropping in value, interest rates are rising, and there's more debtor risk than ever before, and now you start giving these people zero down loans. It kind of seems like you're setting them up for failure. And we talked about this too in our conspiracy episode. You can check back to our last episode, where basically during these times of mass inflation, then they can jack rates, you get this big wealth transfer because you saddle the vast majority of the population with debt, and big cash-rich corporations or just bigger sharks can devour these people, and you get these huge wealth transfers. So while this could be such a good thing, the cynic in me worries about the timing.
Unemployment numbers in those areas can be higher too during these times. So it's like my thing would be on the flip side, if somebody can get into a house now, they might get a cheaper buy. And if they can float the payment today, they can rent it for 2 years, their payment's going to drop dramatically. Their property value is going to go up, and they might actually be in a really good spot. So if they can get it done today, and it actually makes sense, and they can keep their job remains in place, it could actually be a really good thing. Versus if they bought when rates were 1%. Under a false pretense that like, this is what it is. Your payment's only $300 a month, and it's always like this. And house prices just keep going up and up and up and up.
And make no mistake, like I'm a big believer in owning real estate, and I think that's the quickest way to get ahead and to protect your family for generations to come. So I think anything that facilitates that for groups that maybe didn't have that opportunity in the past is a good thing. But the question is like, do you trust Bank of America to not be sinister? And like, I don't know. So we'll see how that all kind of boils
It's interesting
down.
to see if it's like a play on like this ESG score and trying to. Like everything now is like every big corporation is really starting to pay attention to their ESG and like what their perception is, because it's really starting to play an
100%.
impact on what they can do in their business. And so
We
they're
talked
having
about
to come
ESG.
up with stuff.
You guys know how I feel about ESG,
to be
but
clever.
100% this is ESG related. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all to be clever, like to like get the points, but then without diminishing their business. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't actually want to do anything for it; they're just doing it because they have to.
Yeah.
But
and again, like, well, is it actually for the ultimate good?
When I was broke, I had rich habits. When I was broke, I had rich habits.